Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
All we're trying to do now is focus on the well-being of our children and making sure that they have the supports that they need.
Teachers hailed as heroes following a horrific grizzly bear attack on a group of students near Bella Coola. Also,
we want to make sure that British Columbia sees as many dollars of those dollars as possible because it means good jobs in our communities.
BC is rallying its political troops to secure high-paying jobs, with Ottawa set to hike national defense spending by billions. And could White Rocks Canada Day fireworks display fizzle out? City Council is considering cancelling the annual event, but that worries local businesses.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Hello, I'm Janella Hamilton. Thanks for joining us. A remote community on BC's Central Coast is grappling with the aftermath of a horrific grizzly bear attack. It happened yesterday while a group of elementary school children and their teachers were having lunch on a trail. Those teachers being praised as heroes for trying to fight off the bear. Yasmin Khanea is in Bella Coola with more on the attack and why some are now calling for a hunting ban to be lifted.
In the remote community of Bella Coola, shock and devastation after elementary school children and teachers were attacked by a grizzly bear.
It was just an unprecedented event that we have never experienced. And so all we're trying to do now is focus on the well-being of our children and making sure that they have the supports that they need.
It happened Thursday afternoon. The group from an independent school run by the Newhawk Nation was on a field trip and having lunch along a trail. Teachers being praised for fighting off the animal, using bear spray and a bear banger, which gives off a loud noise to scare it off.
These children are going to be around for many, many, many years because of the actions that they've done.
Officials say in total, 11 people were injured. 3 children and an adult were in critical or serious condition and needed urgent hospital care. Weather prevented a plane from landing locally, so they were driven 5 hours to Williams Lake and from there airlifted to hospital. Those familiar with bear-human interactions say it's rare for bears to attack such big groups.
We're much more intimidating in large groups, and statistically, when you look at the research of cases where people have been attacked by grizzly bears, they're usually by themselves or with one other person.
This is the latest grizzly bear attack in BC. Last month, a man was killed by a mother grizzly in the southeastern part of the province. The BC Wildlife Federation says grizzly bear attacks have doubled to nearly 1,000 a year after a hunting ban was put in place in 2017. It's now calling for it to be lifted.
Certainly, anytime there is a bear attack, the Conservation Service provides advice to government about anything we can do to prevent similar incidents in the future, and we'll certainly be listening to that advice carefully.
But for the community of Bella Coola, the suggestion comes too soon. People here just want to focus on the children.
Ottawa has earmarked billions more in national defense spending each year, and BC wants some of that money to grow high-paying jobs. As Katie DeRosa reports, local shipbuilding companies see it as a golden opportunity.
Right now, we're at the pinnacle of a new era.
This Burnaby company builds ship bridges for the Canadian Navy and 25 navies around the world. The company employs 400 workers and sees a huge opportunity to grow.
The growth coming out of Canada alone is going to be dramatic over the next 10 years.
Prime Minister Mark Carney has promised to spend billions more a year on national defense in order to satisfy critics who say this country is falling behind on NATO spending targets. BC wants a slice of that pie. The goal is to get 35% of federal defense ship contracts, a chance to stimulate the BC economy and create high-paying jobs.
Billions of dollars being invested, and we want to make sure that British Columbia sees as many dollars of those dollars as possible because it means good jobs in our communities.
The province has enlisted the help of the former Minister of National Defence, Harjit Sajjan. At no cost to the province, Sajjan is using his experience to make sure this province is on Ottawa's radar.
We need to expand the opportunities, and this is where companies need to see where those opportunities are and be bold to take advantage of it, because now you have all levels of government fully behind this growth.
All this comes at a time when BC's shipbuilding capacity has become a national story. There's been widespread condemnation of BC Ferry's decision to build its 4 newest ships in China. BC-based Seaspan, one of Canada's largest shipbuilders, did not bid on the contract, in part because it's impossible to compete with low wages in China. The company's North Vancouver shipyard is busy building Coast Guard and Navy vessels and expects to see more major contracts through this new defense spending boost.
I don't think Seaspan had the capacity at this point in time to support BC's immediate needs for new ferries. But I think the increased investment in skills, training and development, and investment into wider infrastructure and the ecosystem here in BC will put us in a fantastic position going forward.
The investment he's talking about, the recent announcement that the province will double funding for trades training, a key part of the government's job strategy to make sure the companies poised to benefit from the defense dollars have the workers they need. Katie DeRosa, CBC News, Victoria.
4 years ago, parts of Abbotsford were inundated by floodwaters triggered by an atmospheric river. The city says it's almost finished hundreds of recovery projects, but as Kier Junos reports, frustration and fears of another big flood remains.
We never thought of a flood being like that. So where do you go? What do you do first? We never even turned the power or the gas off, which we should have. You just was trying to get out.
Here in Abbotsford's Arnold neighborhood near the U.S. border, folks say the night they had to evacuate during a historic flood 4 years ago was unforgettable and traumatic. The Nooksack River south of the U.S. border overflowed, broke the dike, flooded the Sumas Prairie, and folks in this community were cut off from their main road out.
Everybody that lives on this side of the tracks had to go up a mountain road. That is not really a road, but a farmer cleared it at 3 o'clock in the morning, so there was a huge lineup of people getting out of here.
4 years later, Abbotsford's mayor says the flood recovery work is almost done.
We started with our most glaring issues like the dike breaches and then moved towards the other work. So we just completed, and I'm happy to announce that all 300 projects have been done. We've got 4 that are in play that still need to be done. But we're coming close to the end of the recovery process.
He says the reasons it took 4 years include factors like permitting times and approvals, limited construction windows due to fish habitats, and high costs. But Siemens says Abbotsford is still not ready for the next big flood, particularly one that cuts off Highway 1 through the Sumas Prairie like it did 4 years ago. Upgrades to that highway on hold until the completion of a multi-governmental flood strategy.
We're a vital link to the rest of the country economically through that corridor. We feed all the natural gas, the oil, all of those natural products are coming through there. This is vitally important, and I don't think anybody at the federal level really fully comprehends how important the Fraser Valley is to the national economy and the national security.
The federal minister for housing was unavailable for an interview and didn't get back to our questions before broadcast deadline. Meanwhile, in Arnold, the Breckens are among those with houses raised high up above the ground. After the flood, at least one neighbor on the road rebuilt his home even taller.
We make fun, those of us that live in these high houses, that we can wave to each other. So it does look awkward, but it's definitely what you need in this neighborhood.
Kier Junos, CBC News, Abbotsford.
The city of White Rock may fizzle out fireworks displays at 2 of its annual celebrations following concerns over congestion and safety. But as Sorab Sandhu reports, one business advocate says if the fireworks are canceled, it could have adverse effects on local businesses.
An annual tradition that brings thousands to BC's Bordertown Beach. But as the crowds get bigger every year, managing them is becoming a headache for the city.
Canada Day was completely out of control this year.
The mayor says some residents complained about traffic congestion, disruptive guests, and litter during the Canada Day celebrations. Speaking at Monday night's council meeting, she said local RCMP have concerns about how emergency services can access the waterfront and surrounding areas when it gets so busy.
There was talk about making the radius of where there's a roadblocks further out to mitigate the large crowds coming in, but the problem is it's going to cost the city more.
Thousands gather at the White Rock Beach every summer for fireworks shows held annually at Canada Day and the local Sea Festival in August. Knight says one option for the city is to cancel the Canada Day fireworks but keep them for the more local festival, but not everyone agrees.
Families come, they set up for the whole day, they bring a lot of business, they support the businesses here.
It's usually a lot busier than the other days during the summer. That's the busiest day we have. That's the day where we have a huge lineup because the fireworks, they're right there.
One business advocate says big events increase foot traffic and support for local businesses. She hopes the city can come up with some creative solution for their sake.
Let's bring in the people. Let's make sure that the business and commerce can still happen.
Staff considered switching to a drone show as a more environmentally friendly alternative to fireworks, but ultimately didn't recommend drones, in part because of the cost, about $35,000 per event. Fireworks cost the city about $9,000 per event, according to a city staff report. The city says whether the fireworks return to this White Rock Beach next summer or not would depend on public feedback, the results of which would be presented before the council in January. Saurabh Sandhu, CBC News, White Rock.
Penticton is looking to tiny homes to help address homelessness in the city. BC Housing has proposed 50 tiny homes that would serve as transitional housing. CBC's Tiffany Goodwin has more.
Well, a few weeks ago, City Council deferred the decision in order to allow for more public consultation. Opposition to this project has been very strong, with many people concerned about the location, possibility of more crime, and the overdose prevention site that would have to be there. The Minister of Housing has indicated that they don't fund any projects that are considered dry facilities. This hasn't been sitting well with residents, many of whom made it out to the information session yesterday. Over 300 people showed up to hear from BC Housing and the city on the project. Here's a little bit of what they had to say.
Being established at the wrong place, and that just because the government is stating that they are only giving money to wet facilities, we do not need more.
Recognize that it's a disease, they need treatment, they need help, but with a dry facility model.
And I feel that should this run the way they tell us they're going to run it, I'm going to be happy. But I have some trust issues with BC Housing in that they haven't done what they said they're going to do before.
The minister has indicated that there is a strong need for this kind of housing in Penticton. Currently, 194 people are considered homeless in the city. Now, there's also a large encampment on provincial land as well. The minister said and was made very clear to people that if the city of Penticton doesn't say yes, if council does not say yes, then this project could very well just go to another community. Now, city council is expected to make that decision on December 2nd.
Darius Madavi joins us now with our first look at the weather. Darius?
We have a big stream of moisture heading into BC. We are going to see a fair amount of rain here on the coast, especially southwest BC. We're going to see some snow in the interior, especially as freezing levels drop towards the end of the weekend into early next week, and temperatures in the interior will remain suppressed throughout next week. We have a few warnings in place, up to 100 millimeters of rainfall coming to the west coast of the island, although I will note it definitely seems like we're getting a little bit less than we were previously expecting, so maybe a little bit of good news there. In terms of the rainfall warning for Howe Sound, the Sea to Sky, and North Vancouver, the North Shore of Vancouver, I should say, we are going to see as much as 50, 60 millimeters of rain in those areas. Again, North Vancouver, the North Shore of Vancouver, northeastern sections of Metro Vancouver, probably not going to see quite on the higher end of that scale, probably closer to 30 millimeters, but still plenty of rain, Janella, plenty of precipitation on the way. First chance of snow for the local mountains comes early next week.
All right, thanks so much, Darius.
Thank you.
Vancouver Mayor Ken Sim's proposed budget includes a $50 million bump to the city's police budget, but the idea is facing some criticism. After the break, we fact-check some of his claims. After more than 2 years of bargaining, 2 national strikes, and now rotating strikes, Canada Post and the union representing most of its workers have a tentative agreement. The details and language in the contract still have to be worked out, but when and if it is ratified, the rotating strikes will stop. It comes as the Crown Corporation reported the highest quarterly loss in its history of more than $500 million, due in part to the labor dispute. BC Premier David Eby has told Ottawa that any discussions of a new oil pipeline need to include BC.
My sincere hope is that Ottawa recognizes both the jurisdiction of British Columbia and also the common sense that you might want to check with the locals if you're discussing policy in their province.
Eby says the potential pipeline being pushed by Alberta doesn't justify removing BC's oil tanker ban in the north, but he's open to expanding capacity of the existing Trans Mountain pipeline. The City of Vancouver's budget is scheduled to be voted on next week, and Mayor Ken Sim has been doing a number of interviews championing its $50 million bump to the Vancouver Police Department's budget, while other departments are facing cuts. One of Sim's interviews was on CBC's The Early Edition this week, and our municipal affairs reporter Justin McElroy did a fact check on what the mayor said.
Ken Sim. He wants a 2026 Vancouver budget with a property tax freeze, $50 million more for police, and he's happy to argue for its merits.
Have you ever said no to something that the police department asked for?
That was The Early Edition host Stephen Quinn interviewing Sim about the budget. It was asked because the police is the largest part of the City of Vancouver's budget. The police union endorsed Sim last election. The police union's former head then ran for Sim's party in a by-election. And in the last 4 years under Sim, their budget is scheduled to go up by $150 million. So we asked the question. And in response, Sim said this.
So what's one thing that the police department asked for that you have had to say no to as in your capacity as a police board member?
So Stephen, what I can do is I can get you a list.
In fact, Sim referenced a list multiple times.
I can get back to you with a list. If you invite me on your show again in the next couple of days, I will have a detailed list.
So we asked for that list, and they gave it to us. Well, sort of. It's not what Sim specifically said no to, but it shows things the VPD wanted in the last 3 budgets before this one, and places where they got less money than they asked for, from new equipment to salary premiums for officers. But how much is that in the grand scheme of what they asked for? Here is a chart. Over those 3 years, the VPD budget grew by nearly $100 million, while the amount of rejections VPD got was less than $20 million. So no, the VPD hasn't gotten what they asked for from the police board 100% of the time, more like 85%. And in the same interview, Sim argued a lot of the increase to the budget is out of his control.
A lot of the charges that we face under the VPD are out of our control. For example, ECOM or 911.
Now, it is true that 911 is out of Vancouver's jurisdiction, but is what Sim said about a lot of the charges true? Here is a chart. The VPD lays out in detail why they need $50 million more this year and is broken down in clear categories. Only $5.1 million of that is for things they say are third-party expenditures. The rest are things City Council wants, things the VPD want, and salary increases for maintaining existing staff. No staff cuts are being talked about for police, while in the rest of City Hall it could be up to 400 people. But the mayor says that safety is the top priority next to keeping property taxes low. Polls consistently show that crime and affordability are 2 of the biggest issues in the city. An argument council will consider as they vote next week on the budget and as they vote ahead of next year's municipal election. Justin McElroy, CBC News, Vancouver.
A rainy week in White Rock, cold with a blanket of gray clouds. Darius will have your full BC-wide weather forecast coming up.
I think it's important to give a human face to the stories that we hear every day, the people that they affect. And I think talking to those people is what really gives us the true sense of the impact of the stories that we're hearing.
History is about to be made. We are just moments away from puck drop between the Vancouver Golden Knights and Seattle Torrent. Our Troy Charles is live from the Pacific Coliseum for the city's first ever professional women's hockey league game. Troy, how is the energy in there?
Yes, good evening, Janella. There is a palpable buzz in the air here, and it makes sense. How often do you get to go to a professional sports team's first ever game? The women are about to take the ice here for warm-up at any moment. There's going to be 15,000 fans inside the Coliseum tonight. That is a sellout. The GoldenEye women are ringing in their inaugural season against the Seattle Torrent. The two teams were announced as the PWHL's first two expansion teams earlier this year. Tonight's sold-out crowd will set a new attendance record in a PWHL team's home arena. Earlier, we spoke with some of those fans. How exciting is it that there's a professional women's hockey team in Vancouver?
It's very exciting.
What do you think it's going to be like in there tonight?
Oh, it's going to be, I think it's going to be pandemonium, to be honest with you. It's the first game. It's the Vancouver Golden Knights. It's going to be freaking crazy.
But today I'm supporting Vancouver while they're, first game home opener. Love it.
Go Golden Knights, go!
Troy, it's been a number of years since the Coliseum has hosted a hockey game. What kind of upgrades have been made?
Yeah, Janelle, they've spruced it up in here. There's been an expansion kind of over the last few months. One of the key things is the fact that the Golden Knights get their home logo at center ice. They're the only team in the league that gets that because they're the sole tenant here in the Coliseum. And the other big new addition, the Jumbotron, which you can see above me here, that is brand new as well for the Golden Knights. The stage is set here tonight. It's going to be loud. It's going to be exciting. We're just 20, 30 minutes away from the first ever puck drop for the Vancouver Golden Knights. Should be fun. Back to you.
And Troy, the lights have just dropped. That means it's about to happen. Thanks so much, Troy. That is Troy Charles live at the Pacific Coliseum tonight. Prime Minister Mark Carney has arrived in South Africa for the G20 Leaders Summit. He is planning to meet with several world leaders over the weekend, but delegates from one major country won't be there. The CBC's Ashley Burke is in Johannesburg with more.
The Prime Minister arriving in Johannesburg for a summit that's supposed to be with leaders representing 2/3 of the world's population. But this year, the biggest economy won't be there. Donald Trump's boycotting the G20.
The United States is not participating in official talks.
Death, death, death.
In May, Trump confronted South Africa's president with false claims of genocide against white South African farmers, and later called it a disgrace it's hosting the G20.
Because what's happened there is bad. I'm not going. I told him I'm not going. I'm not going to represent our country there.
But the summit's going ahead without Trump. And on the heels of Carney's visit to the UAE, he's aiming to continue diversifying trade away from the U.S.
Canadians have become united in the face of the fundamental change in U.S. trade policy.
Carney made his pitch to business leaders about why he says they should invest in Canada.
One of the things, the many strengths of the UAE that Canada shares, is offering investors the certainty that they deserve.
The UAE is now promising to invest more than $90 billion into Canada's economy, with $23 billion for specific projects. Carney's now taking his pitch to other countries on the sidelines of the G20. Trump not being there removes a big center of attention.
If part of the goal for Mark Carney at this summit is to have meetings with key countries that Canada is trying to deepen its trade partnerships with, like South Korea, like Indonesia, India, and others, then Trump's absence may, in some ways, actually create some space for that.
Carney is expected to hold bilateral meetings on Saturday with the leaders of France, the EU, UK, Germany, and Norway, then meet with India's Prime Minister on Sunday. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Johannesburg.
It was all smiles in Washington this afternoon after New York City's mayor-elect met with the U.S. president. And as Paul Hunter reports, despite their well-known political differences, the leaders told reporters they focused on their shared concerns.
We've just had a great meeting, a really good, very productive meeting.
You heard him. A great meeting. Really good. Very productive. That's right. U.S. President Donald Trump, after his much-hyped face-to-face with New York City's mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani.
If there is any way to terrify a despot.
The same Mamdani Trump had earlier labeled a radical left lunatic. The Democratic socialist that Trump's own press secretary had previewed this way.
We have a communist coming to the White House.
But after their get-together, Trump had a whole other, utterly unexpected take.
We agree on a lot more than I would have thought. I think I want him to do a great job. We had a meeting today that actually surprised me. He wants to see no crime. He wants to see housing being built. He wants to see rents coming down, all things that I agree with. Now, we may disagree how we get there.
Even Mamdani, who in recent weeks had targeted Trump with barbs of his own, seemed smilingly upbeat throughout, if on message.
I think both President Trump and I, we are very clear about our positions and our views, and what I really appreciate about the president is that the meeting that we had focused not on places of disagreement, which there are many, and also focused on the shared purpose that we have in serving New Yorkers. We focused on affordability, we focused on the cost of living crisis.
Given the expectation of fireworks, the whole thing was remarkable. Even when, for example, a reporter put it to Mamdani that he had once called Trump a fascist. Trump, wait for it, came to the aid of Mamdani.
Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes. Okay. It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
Few details of their private conversation emerged, but the surprise, almost bromancy vibe was undeniable.
I expect to be helping him, not hurting him. A big help, because I want New York City to be great.
That's the CBC's Paul Hunter reporting. Ukraine is under pressure to respond to a U.S. peace plan to end the war with Russia. Donald Trump presented Kyiv with a 28-point draft to end the nearly 4-year war and says he wants an answer from Zelensky by next Thursday.
We have a way of getting peace, or we think we have a way of getting peace. He's going to have to approve it.
Washington's proposal includes Ukraine ceding territory to Russia, limiting its military, and renouncing its intention to join NATO. It contains many of Moscow's demands, which Zelensky has previously rejected. The Ukrainian president pledged to work constructively with the U.S. on the plan, but says he won't betray his country. Russian President Vladimir Putin says it could be the basis for what he calls a final settlement. The peace proposal is expected to dominate discussions on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Johannesburg this weekend. A son's struggle to show up for school includes anxiety from bullying. A CBC investigation finds it's happening more than it used to. That story is next. A week of relentless rain and flash flooding has left at least 41 people dead and countless others seeking shelter in central Vietnam. More than 500,000 households and businesses were damaged, and rescue teams are racing to move people trapped in chest-high water. The floodwaters are also hampering the lucrative coffee harvest in the region. Extreme weather has battered Vietnam in recent months. 2 typhoons left a trail of death and destruction within weeks of each other.
The Weather Update is brought to you by BC Cancer Foundation. Give today to bring more progress and possibilities to patients and their families. Your donation changes everything.
Doris Madavi is back with another look at our weather. And Doris, I hear it's about to get a little chillier.
That's right. We've got a lot of Arctic air spilling south, as you can see here. This is down at the surface. Those very cold temperatures heading down, breaking into the southern parts of Canada and down into the United States. For BC, what that looks like is dropping temperatures early next week and remaining suppressed and dropping even further as we get into the middle and end of next week as well. So expect some chilly temperatures on the way. As we roll this forward, this is what that looks like in terms of actual locations in BC. Just over the next couple days, that air, you can watch the cold air coming down further and further south. And that means a big temperature drop for the southern interior as we get into Monday, as well as most of BC. As usual, felt less on the coast, as we'd expect, but definitely significant. And temperatures will probably drop even below this as we get into later in the week. We have more precipitation on the way. That stream of moisture still hitting southwest BC in particular. Heaviest tomorrow morning for parts of the island, continuing into the afternoon. For the lower mainland, probably just heavy in the afternoon and then tapering off into Sunday morning. But that next stream of moisture does look like it's going to go south of us instead of us getting the worst of it. That's what it seems like so far. Could change again, but for now, seems like it's going to stay south, which means probably just some more showery activity, lighter precipitation for next Tuesday and Wednesday. But still some heavy stuff in the meantime. We had those. We looked at those rainfall warnings that have been in place for the west coast of the island, Howe Sound, up the sea to sky, and northern sections of Metro Vancouver. Those rainfall warnings will remain in place through tomorrow and potentially into Sunday morning. So be ready for more heavy precipitation on the way. So far, hasn't been as intense as it maybe could have been, but the ramp up is expected to happen tomorrow, so be ready for that. If we look at our precipitation totals, not all models have as much rain as Environment Canada is calling for in there. So this one, for instance, does have less rain for Tofino for one place than Environment Canada is calling for, but there are other models that I'm not showing here that do show that much precipitation, so it is something to be ready for. And of course, northern sections of Metro Vancouver potentially getting up to 70 millimeters. I do think 70 is probably on the high end. I'd say probably 60 is more likely for northern sections of Metro Vancouver, but still in the realm of possibility. Lots of snow coming to the mountain ranges as well. Good news for Whistler on its opening weekend, potentially 25 to 50 centimeters coming by the end of the weekend. A little bit of sun is possible in the southern interior tomorrow. And here's our 5-day forecast. Janella, we do have some sunshine on the way late in the weekend and into Monday.
All right, Doris, don't go anywhere because guess what time it is? It's Fun Fact Friday, and Darius is here to talk to us about kissing.
Did nobody give you the talk, Janelle? Right. Okay. Let's talk about it. This is a new paper that just came out this week from researchers at the University of Oxford, and they're answering a big question because kissing is a big part of, much of our media, much of people's lives, and it goes back a very long time. But this has always been a question in science. Where did kissing come from? What is it an invention of? Is kissing a evolutionary adaptation, or is it more of a cultural thing that was invented? And there are problems with both of these ideas because, this surprised me, less than half of all documented cultures had kissing as part of their cultural identity. Now, 46%, that is low. So that suggests that maybe it's not a cultural thing. Maybe it comes down to evolution. And indeed, we have many of our closely related animals that have evolved to also kiss. But the problem here is, what is the advantage? What evolutionary advantage are you getting from kissing? It is not really improving your survival or reproductive chances, as far as we know. And also, it's pretty raising your risk of disease and other concerns. So Why would we kiss? What is the possible reason? Well, researchers were able to look at all the other animals that are closely related to us, all the other primates that kiss and don't kiss, model them on an evolutionary tree, and get an estimate of how far back kissing may have evolved. And what they found is that about 20 million years ago is likely when kissing first emerged in our ancestors. So that means our ape ancestors, even Neanderthals, likely kissed. Neanderthals and humans likely kissed because we know there was interbreeding there. And Janella, I want to play a little lightning round game. The researchers defined kissing as non-aggressive mouth-to-mouth contact that did not involve food transfer. Is this kissing? These monkeys?
This looks like food transfer to me, at least I hope so.
No, this is kissing.
Oh, no.
What about this one? These two ants, are they kissing?
Yeah, they look like they're kissing.
No, this
Pretty
one is
close
food transfer.
Contact there.
That's food transfer. What about this one?
Oh, my goodness.
Fish kissing?
Kissing.
Nope, not kissing. This is aggressive. They're actually fighting here. And last one, these two birds, Galapagos albatross. Are they kissing?
I obviously don't know what kissing looks like. That could be, let's say, a food transfer.
No, it's non-aggressive. They're not transferring food. They just love each other.
Aw, so cute. Well, thanks, Darius. That was interesting.
Thank you.
New data analyzed by CBC Marketplace shows last year about 500,000 Canadians left emergency departments before being seen by a doctor. The data crunch shows the number of these incidents has been climbing in recent years due to long ER waits. Our teams found those are also rising. ER doctors say it's a concerning trend that could mean patients are getting sicker at home. Marketplace co-host Chris Glover reports.
It was chaotic, it was loud.
When Susan Gordon went to Moncton Hospital ER with severe stomach pain in June, she waited hours. Even though she still hadn't seen a doctor, she decided to leave. Her pain intensified until eventually she collapsed and was rushed back to the ER.
She said it's your appendix. I needed to have surgery, and they were doing it immediately.
The health authority that runs the Moncton Hospital ER tells us it doesn't want any patients to leave without being seen. Last year, 12% of New Brunswick ER patients, nearly 60,000 people, walked out without seeing a doctor. The provinces with the highest percentage of walkouts were Manitoba and PEI.
It's rare that a shift will go by where one of the patients I'll see isn't someone that was there yesterday or the day before and couldn't handle the wait and left. And now they come back, and now they're that much sicker.
Hazel and GJ Vanderwerken's 16-year-old son, Finley, never left. But in February 2024, got sicker while waiting in Oakville, Ontario's ER.
He was having problems breathing, and he was in so much pain, he was crying out.
Triaged at level 2, meaning his case was emergent. Guidelines say he should be seen by a doctor within 15 minutes, but he waited for 8 hours and 22 minutes. By then, Finley had sepsis, his body reacting to pneumonia, and ultimately, he died.
Do you think that his death was preventable?
Yes.
Yes.
The family is suing the hospital and its staff. Halton Healthcare denies negligence and says it's since added more doctors at peak periods. Experts say chronic understaffing across the country, a lack of family doctors, and hospitals at capacity are causing long wait times. Still not satisfied, the Vanderwerkens are calling on provincial governments to speed up emergency care.
It's our job now to use his voice to turn things around.
All provinces acknowledge ER wait times are too long, and they're trying to expand capacity, not just in hospitals, but also adding more primary care workers. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
For the full investigation, watch our PVR In Critical Condition tonight at 8 p.m. on CBC TV and CBC Gem. It's a familiar refrain from many parents, children who say they can't go to school because they're sick. Now, a CBC News investigation has found it's happening more than it used to, and experts say some of it may be linked to anxiety and mental health. The CBC's Tara Carmen reports.
School avoidance.
Some days I just really don't want to go in.
What is he saying about why he doesn't want to go?
You don't always get a clear reason.
A CBC exclusive analysis shows a rise in students across the country calling in sick.
Every day there are thousands of students who are out of school.
What's causing so many to stay home?
Kids don't always have the words to express what's going on.
I can play hot cross buns, except this one, it gets like stuck.
2 months into the new school year, and 12-year-old William D. Pasquale has already missed 10 days of grade 7.
I don't really like school at the moment.
Having cereal, getting your outfit together, just starts to show up in resistance.
William's father, Norm, works from home.
5 minus 7, yeah.
He has the added task of supervising William when he doesn't want to go to school.
That one too. We're at about the time where you have to get them to school so that you can get back to start your workday. So the clock is ticking, and that sort of subtle resistance is very effective.
What is he saying about why he doesn't want to go?
You don't always get a clear reason. It might be sometimes I'm feeling sick. Maybe that's legit. Sometimes maybe it's not necessarily legit. Other times maybe there's another reason, like bullying in the schoolyard that's happening.
I twitch a lot in class. And like, sometimes I get made fun of that.
Can you tell me about what happens?
Just say like mean stuff.
And how does that feel?
Well, sometimes I'm like, I don't care, okay, yeah, you said it. But sometimes it like, kind of like hurts.
When there's been an incident at school, like it carries with him the next day, and then the next morning it becomes the reason why he doesn't want to go to school that day.
To find out how widespread this is, CBC News obtained attendance data from some of the largest school districts in the country. Of those that track illness, our analysis shows compared to 5 years ago, absences for reported illness went up.
When we think about school attendance, we think about it as a symptom of underlying issues that can be going on. We do have to set a date for that.
Natasha McBrearty and David Smith belong to a research partnership investigating attendance issues among children and youth in Canada.
We know from the families we work with, we know from the service providers that anxiety definitely is a contributor to attendance.
Anxiety over taking a test, difficulty fitting in, stress at home, bullying.
The staying home, this is a well-known, well-documented reaction of kids and parents to bullying situations. Every day there are like hundreds or thousands of students who are out of school because of the bullying that they're experiencing.
Students like William.
Sometimes when you don't want to go to school, your mom says you get a tummy ache.
Well, sometimes like I eat something and like my stomach hurts after eating it.
Mom's gonna pass you some seaweed there for your lunch and a thermos for your lunch. You do your best. You want your child to go to school every day so they can learn, grow, and thrive. But you also have to look out for your child's well-being and mental well-being. And there are days where you look at your child and they don't have it in them to go to school that day.
Stargazing in BC's Dawson's Creek just got serious. When we return, we learn more about one man's passion to build a museum in the city's downtown for space enthusiasts like himself. Stay with us.
A lifetime of watching astronauts push into new frontiers has led one BC man to build something remarkable in an unexpected location.
He's built a new space museum in downtown Dawson Creek. Matt Preprost has more.
Well, this is a model of the Skylab space station, and this was the first U.S. space station that orbited Earth in the 1970s, right after the Apollo moon program.
Nick Proch has just put the finishing touches on his latest creation. The BC space historian has been building specialized models like these for decades.
We've done work for a lot of private collectors, NASA, the United States Air Force, the Canadian Department of Defense. We did one project. SpaceX.
Now, with this new museum in Dawson Creek, he's sharing some of his work with the public.
Around the Earth in orbit and going out to the moon was really something, you know, to me, that's probably the biggest, single, most exciting adventure ever.
Inside an old auto shop storefront, a gallery of models and memorabilia fill the walls and display cases.
Morning, Matt. Some of my favorites, like this one that you're looking at right now, the Apollo 11 model, signed by Buzz Aldrin. And then up on top here, we should also notice this rocket here is a model of the Artemis rocket. And what's significant about that, particularly with Canadian history, is that is scheduled to launch currently in February of 2026. And it will carry a crew of 4 around the moon and back to Earth on a 10-day mission. And one of the crew members is a Canadian astronaut.
Proch designs each model from original engineering blueprints.
It's always nice to know the actual subject itself, and that gives you a better understanding when you actually put the model together.
Few know this craftsmanship better than Houston-based space historian Robert Perlman.
Not everyone can have a museum in their backyard, you know, where they have a real Saturn V or the real Apollo Command Module or Lunar Module. Scale models sort of step in for that.
Perlman owns some of Proch's models and says they play an important role in teaching people about space.
They become touchstones, an ability to understand the program a little bit better. As a species, humans are a tactile species. We learn better when we can touch things.
That's what Proch says his museum is for, to share stories and spark imaginations.
Get them off the phones, get them off the computers, and doing something completely different. Because this used to be a mainstay type of activity.
He continues to add more pieces from Canadian history to this little museum in hopes of inspiring the next generation of space fans to build something of their own. Matt Preprost, CBC News, Dawson Creek.
Do you think that guy loves science and space more than you?
Maybe space. I've never built a museum, so
yeah, that's the standard.
I would love if I had my own museum. I could have more space memorabilia. I just simply don't have room in my apartment. It's awesome.
Is super cool.
Very cool. Thanks for being with us tonight on CBC Vancouver News at 6. You can watch this newscast on CBC Gem, YouTube, and our website, cbc.ca/BC.
I will have your next local news at 11 o'clock right after the National. Have a great night.